Hey kids, this is part 3 of an interview that I did with Javier Gonzalez, a wonderful, wonderful trumpet player, lead player in the Los Angeles area. And in this series, there's a huge amount of information about what this young man did to develop his range, develop his trumpet playing, and really figure out how to gain control of the trumpet in the upper register. And there's some incredible information in this 3-part series. This is part 3. Enjoy.
But there's just something different that somebody notices about me that does set me aside.
So you have something that you're bringing something to the plate. You're bringing something to the table.
I mean, and again, it's not something that nobody can do.
Right.
My biggest hero, who I studied with as well, is Wayne Bergeron. That guy can play double C's probably all day.
Right. Sure.
But he's a busy man.
In the quest to become an LA lead player, there's obviously a lot of challenges, and so what are some of the ones maybe you didn't expect, or some of the ones that you have to really be aware of?
Well, one thing, actually, this composer in town named Jeff Stradling, he has a big band, he put it to me very frank one day. He was like, you know what? I want to write really hard music, good, really hard music, and you know what? This is LA. Guys here can play it. So there's some music that he has in his book that is very difficult, very challenging, endurance-wise, music-wise, and yet he doesn't care whether you can play or not because somebody in LA can. Mm. So for me, that's a huge thumbs up because that gives me something to look forward to. I mean, we do all this practicing every single day at home to become better musicians, and then sometimes it gets really stale. Because you're not doing the jobs you want to be doing, or you're not being challenged enough, or you're not getting enough face time, or something like that. But his band, along with somebody like Mike Barone as well, who's another difficult book to play, or learn how to play lead in, it's amazing because you have something to look forward to. There's a purpose why you practice so hard at home to try and be in this band. I was very, very lucky to be, a part of Mike Barone's band, because his book, I mean, talk about a challenge. I mean, there's not a day that goes by when you do a rehearsal with him and there's somebody saying, man, I can't believe we survived that. And same thing with Jeff Stradling's band. Jeff Stradling, he writes some stuff that's musically entertaining, difficult, and challenging. Just challenging chop-wise, endurance-wise. And you have to be able to do it. Yeah.
So, in the process of making your way into the LA scene and developing yourself as a player and becoming a very, very fine player, there's also an aspect of versatility. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I think is important is either be just ridiculously versatile or be very, very good at a specific thing. Mm-hmm. But within the context of being a great lead player, you also play some really nice jazz stuff.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself to be a jazz player, but if the opportunity comes, I'm going to definitely take it up. I mean, I enjoy playing jazz, I enjoy improvising, and I can get around, I can be convincing.
Yeah. Which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, and I'm happy that people tend to agree with that statement.
Right. Well, but that challenge could show up on a gig that you have.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing about being a section player. If there's a lead player and he wants to pass something and you're next to him and he doesn't care if you can do it or not, he's going to pass it.
Right.
And do you want to be that guy that can't play it, or do you want to be the guy who can play it?
Right. Right.
I'd rather be the guy who can play it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, when you were really developing yourself as a player, and you were going through these different exercises that you took from different places and developed for yourself, this was a program that you developed for you.
Yes. And I think we should all do that because, again, there's so many methods out there that are all really, really good. But, everybody has different bodies, different face structures, and no, you're not a carbon copy of anybody else. So when somebody says that this is the best method, I disagree with that, because that might be the best method for you.
Right. I like to look at it as this is a good method or this is a method that a lot of people find useful.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I think that those, because the thing is, you know, there's, and I guardedly say this, not trying to trap you on camera, but there's definitely, you know, I mean, there's definitely methods that certain people ascribe to, and that becomes almost it's their school. They belong to a certain trumpet playing school, which is a great thing, and it may work really well for them, but I do like the idea of checking out other things. How many teachers did you actually have, you know, so far as a player?
Well, professional teachers, I've had 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But everybody I grew up around was a teacher, music-wise. I mean, I remember being in marching band in my youth band in middle school and seeing these guys who were, you know, either a few years older than me or in high school, and they had chops that I wish I could have. So for me, I was one of those little, I want to say I was a fly on the wall and spying on them. I was seeing, I was seeing what they were doing, how they were breathing, how they were pushing, what their strategy was to achieve what they were doing, because something had happened to them to get to that point.
Right.
And I wanted to see how quickly can I absorb what they just did, and try and figure it out. I mean, that's how I figured out how to circular breathe.
Wow.
I saw Winter Marcel was doing a tour like in 2005. No, actually no, younger than that. I was in high school, so like 98, 99, and he went to the Borders in Santa Monica, and he was playing there with the quartet, okay, and he was doing this crazy line, fast bebop line. I don't know, it might have been like a whole chorus or more than that, and he was bopping and circular breathing, and not knowing how to circular breathe, I saw what he was doing. I saw his cheeks going in and out. And it took me about 1.5 years to actually understand what the hell this guy was doing. But I got it.
Right.
I got it, and I figured it out, and I can do it.
So even now, you still, I mean, you have the opportunity to sit next to some of the greatest players,
Yes.
you know, whatever, in the business. You know, I mean, and so, you know, you're, I would imagine that there's some discussion about trumpet playing, but there's more of an observation about what people do.
I think, at least from my personal point, there's more observation than what I do. Because I mean, everybody, especially, you don't have to be a lead player for me to observe you. I mean, I look at jazz players and I see what they do and how, you know, what their strategy is, how they approach a specific phrase or anything. And it's like, you know, at that point, that person's being my teacher. I'm learning from what he's doing physically and audio wise. Same, and with lead players, I just see their approach. I see how they attack a certain phrase that I'm going to hear again in a few minutes for the next shot chorus, and I see how they prep. I see what they do, and again, being the fly on the wall, I see what they're doing. I try as best possible to imitate them before I ask them how they do it.
Right, right. Learn the secret before you beg for the answer.
Exactly.
Well, and that's a big key, and I think that, you know, that's such a huge lesson for a lot of people, is the idea to actually do your own research. I mean, obviously you've done just an incredible amount of research on your own and development on your own, and it's fantastic to be able to spend a little bit of time with you and get some of that information. I look forward to another adventure into asking you questions about trumpet playing, and can you do one last thing for me? It's kind of a crazy thing, but we were talking about double buzz.
Oh yeah.
And I really want to get that because I've experienced it myself, but usually after some type of tragic beating that I took. But you can actually demonstrate it.
Well, I mean, when we first talked about it, I learned how to do it in my undergrad from a saxophone player named Benny Golia, who was a teacher at Cal Arts, and he called it as multiphonics, or splitting the pitch. You know, which it took me a while to figure out because I couldn't do it. You know, I've never been in a situation where my lips just do that or my body just did that naturally. So it took me, I had to do it from backwards, from not being able to do it to, as opposed to some people who just do it because it's happening. It's happening. Right. So the way I learned how to do the split tone was I first started in the low register, and I would slur it down from an F sharp using 1, 2, and 3 combination.
Right, sure.
And slur it down to a C sharp and split it. Okay. So hopefully I can do this. There it is.
Yeah, interesting.
So what I'm doing is I'm slurring down to the C sharp, but right before the slot happens, I grab onto the middle of that, so you're hearing the F sharp and the C sharp.
Do me a favor and do a slow, kind of bend pitch like you're very apt at doing, and go from the F sharp and bend it down to the C sharp in kind of in a smooth manner.
Okay.
And you're going to show where that break is,
Okay.
and then you go back to it and slur down to that, and then hit the spot where you're double. Wow, that's
There it is.
intense. Right.
I used to be much better at that, and there's some great trombone players and saxophonists who just do it on call.
Right.
It takes a technique to do it, and for those of you who do it naturally, it's really hard to do. So the reason I think that happens is because you don't have, at least from my understanding, there's not enough air going into the next pitch you're trying to play into.
So what's happening is you're actually getting the lower pitch while trying to play the upper pitch?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the thing driving it.
Yeah, so what it is airspeed is a big important factor in that, and I don't mean airspeed by playing louder, I just mean the airspeed traveling faster. And for me, because I do the lead pipe stuff, it's more of tongue position. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing slurs, if I don't have the correct tongue placement, that's going to not sound as clean. And if you're playing loud and aggressively and you're trying to slur into a different pitch and you get that split tone, it's because there's not enough air speed going into the top pitch or lower pitch. Like for example, like I was actually buzzing on the low one and the high one with both pitches.
Right.
And that's because I'm not giving enough airspeed to the lower note or to the higher note. Just try to do that again. That's kind of weird how that happens when I'm trying to do it on purpose and it actually works. So
airspeed, tongue position, very key to making that go away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't thank you enough for the time you've spent with us, and I look forward to another such time. But I think we should close this out so you and I can have a little toast.
Awesome.
So this concludes the 3-part series of an interview with Javier Gonzalez. I hope you enjoyed it. There's such great information in this, and I can't thank Javier enough for allowing me to get this information and put it on my channel. Fabulous person, unbelievable player, great information. Hope this helps. Take it easy, kids.